Welcome to the Vision Profiles podcast. Join us, two dedicated Apple Vision Pro users, as we dive into everything from hardware and software to apps and the latest updates in the world of Apple Vision Pro. I'm Marty, a faculty member at Kent State University, podcaster and Apple Vision fanboy, I guess is the best way to... That's, I'm a product fan, but let's face it, I'm a fanboy.
That sums it up nicely. I'm Eric Bolden. I work in IT, but my interest is in finding interesting ways to share content. Currently, photography of plants and birds and panoramic sequences. Yeah, and I'm enjoying the warmer weather this week.
Yeah, things have gotten a little warmer around here. My dog is still lame. My wife is still recovering from a broken wrist, but doing much better than she was a week ago. And so things have gotten a little lighter around the house. I'm starting to get some sleep. And now I keep reminding myself they do pay me for work, so I have to get back to work between podcast and housekeeping. But, not too much terribly new this week with the headset. I was running the beta, so I had the last master on it before they today released the betas. I don't know about iPad. Did they do it for iPad? I know it was on my iPhone.
Yeah, it came out for everything: speakers, watches, iPads, phones, computers, Apple TV. Everybody got an update today.
Well, that's real strange. I mean, I took a nap, put my phone on to do the update, and I already, went ahead and did it. And then I came back to my office here and tried to update the software, and they said, "You're good." I was up to date. Now, that was earlier. Maybe I need to check it to see if they didn't push it out, if I was too early to push it out. And then I didn't really do anything else because I was busy. So I'll play around with this after the show when I'm editing stuff for the show and putting it together. I'll start opening up the iPads and seeing if I get an update on it.
Don't forget to check for applications updates, because there are a lot of apps that got updated also.
Yeah, I forget that, and then I turn around and it's like, what do you mean I got 45 updates on my applications? So yeah, that's the second step I always forget about. Go ahead and do the application updates. As far as the Vision Pro goes, this might for you be a consequential update. Because you've been off the betas.
Yeah, although I didn't really notice a lot of changes, so I'm sure they'll be out there. There's the usual. It felt faster. It felt like a higher resolution. But
the nuggets were crispier. I saw somebody.
Yeah.
I obviously didn't see any changes in it. I thought, when they said if you're on the Gold Master, you don't have to worry about any update. It'll just be what it is. And so I turned the headset on this afternoon and put it on and just went to check. And sure enough, I had to do an update anyways. I don't know if it did anything but write over what was already on there as far as the operating system. But it didn't cause much. I had to set it aside for 7 minutes while it did its thing. And I went to have dinner or something. But it was that I needed to do. So I'll play with those other devices tonight after we do that. But again, nothing remarkable in the articles. We have 2 articles listed, one from Mac Rumors and one from Apple Insider, where they just mentioned that it's basically bug fixes. One that I thought was interesting was they said it's really recommended. Like, this is do it right away. And usually when Apple says do it right away, it generally means the bug fixes are significant.
I think there are a lot of security fixes that were included in all of the operating systems.
Yeah, this article from Apple Insider, they they talk about Apple Intelligence and they kind of say, well, we're not going to get it yet. They hint that we might see it with visionOS 3.0 because we have an M2 processor. I everybody's been saying it's going to be linked to the new version of Vision Pro that supposedly is coming out, but I don't know. They're saying it wasn't ready. That Apple Intelligence is there, but it just wasn't ready for 2.3. So we'll see if that comes natively to the Vision Pro 1 app. I'm sorry. I just switched to a new article. What did you think of this one, anyways?
Kind of neat. I like the idea of having a dedicated testing room. I don't know if it makes sense in every store. It sort of is an indication that they think this is going to be, useful going forward for quite a while. It certainly is a better experience for people than just being on a table shared by a bunch of other people doing other things. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, this is Miami. It's their new store that opened up a couple of days ago, downtown Miami. And they have this neat, you need to look at the article. All these links are going to be in the show notes, whether you're listening to us in the audio podcast, look for the show notes, or if you're watching us on YouTube after we record this and the video's up there, if you're looking at the video, really take a look at the link for this store. If you haven't seen this picture, it looks pretty cool. It's kind of a nice
much more of kind of a like a park bench or living room feel, a different feel from being at a work table.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little parlor that people go into to do this. And again, I thought the same thing that you thought, that this is indicates a dedication to everything that they said was going to be dead by now. They're setting aside this space in this store just for the purpose of doing demos. And the demo table got a little wacky. I mean, we have them at the two stores that are near me, and it just seems a little bit out there. Of course, when they first came out, they had two tables. They had one for the lensing and then another one for the demos. And now it's down to one table, at least in my locations. But this looks it's kind of nice. I imagine you could repurpose that room for something else if you wanted to in the store. Yeah. If you wanted to bring in tables and have not just live demonstrations, but real-time sort of practice and training, that would be very cool too. Yeah, very comfortable looking kind of benches with back seats for folks to look at. So let's talk about our competition. I don't know if this is as much a competition thing, but it's interesting. And it says everybody's still in the game. And this was a story about Google buys part of HTC's Vive VR team. So basically, they just came in and said, hey, we want to buy your employees for a while. I don't know if this is a full transition, but HTC said, yeah, we're going to sell you them. We're going to allow you to pay us $250 million in cash that will allow these team or a portion of their team to come over and do some work joining with Google. So I don't know what that means for the Vive VR headset or the future of it, or if this is going to be something that their product line will continue and Google will be kind of sharing engineering staff for this. But all of it's kind of working on the Android XR ecosystem. So just interesting. People are starting to line up the troops for their various devices.
It's good to have another device out there, and more dollars going into trying new things.
Yeah, and along those same lines, one of the big pieces of news this week that everybody seemed to be picking up on was the idea that Apple's going to make AR glasses. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 articles that kind of picked up this thread. Most of them start with Mark Gurman declaring Apple Vision Pro a flop. That's the word he used.
Yeah, don't forget to mention the price.
Oh yeah, and the price that was part of the flop. but because not everybody could have one, it's a flop. Ignore all the technical stuff, ignore all the advances that they did with it, and let's just call it a flop. I was a little disappointed in that wording because these same sources were saying this is the best product of the year, a couple of months ago. So what is it? Is it a flop or is it the product of the year? It's just interesting to me that folks have kind of made these changes with that. So lots of news around Apple developing these VR or AR glasses and how it continues. Yeah, here's the article, or here's the comment. They have an off-site place apparently that they're doing this work, which is really kind of interesting. Santa Clara, California. So it's off base from Cupertino, where they're developing kinds of these AR glasses. And I forget what did they call that project? It's in one of the articles that they say, here's the code name for the project.
Yeah, I can never remember. I see it, and then it's gone. But yeah, it's kind of neat. It's a little ways off, so it's sort of interesting that everybody decided they wanted to write an article right now.
Well, I think they were pushed. I mean, I think the Bloomberg article by Gurman kind of said, "Oh, wait a minute, let's get on this and let's kind of repeat this." This article actually by Malcolm Owen came out yesterday, and I think it's one of the better articles. And I'll say it's one of the more informative articles because and it says massive hurdles, but it kind of gives you a little bit of the history of it. And one of the things that I know at least Jeff Gamet was saying with regard to the car and the automated car was that when they closed that shop up, all of the optics that were used in the self-driving car or the automatic, the Apple car could be used in other technologies. And they make that connection here in this article. They're like, when that changed, that's when the idea for putting that technology into the glasses occurred. So it really is a kind of interesting article that has a thread that goes through it about all the different types of technology that happened. At the time, CEO Tim Cook believed that AR was a way forward, superimposing images on real-world view, not in an isolating way as with VR goggles. So they pulled the AR and VR work out of the car project that went into it is now part of the Apple Vision Pro.
And I have to say, I prefer the AR components over a completely VR, although you can get close. You can be pretty immersed.
But you can have an AR component and then just turn your environment on.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're in VR. So yeah, I would point listeners or viewers to this article. Development of Apple's smart glasses continues despite massive hurdles. Gives a nice sort of history of the experience with it. Shorter articles by Mac Rumors, again attributing in his latest Power On newsletter, Gurman reports that Apple Vision Products Group is looking beyond Vision Pro, considering launching smart glasses comparable to Meta Ray-Bans. Now, Gurman, I think Team Gurman they're going to put out a Vision Pro 2 with an M5 chip in it this year, and they're not going to get to glasses till next year, if I remember that correctly. And then Ming-Chi Kuo's team, Ming-Chi Kuo, is, no, they're going to put the glasses out this year, and they're kind of pushing off any Vision Pro 2 at this point. So Gurman's talking about glasses now. Yeah, so much of this is replicated. And then they talk about, I think this is nice, separately, Apple is said to be working with Sony to bring support for PlayStation VR2, the VR2 controllers, hand controllers, to the Vision Pro. And I think that's cool. I mean, if Daniel was here, we would be talking about the Surreal hand controllers that he and I both have. And I think this is a great tie-in if Sony can get their PlayStation stuff ported over into Vision Pro and have a larger launching pad to sell product in. That's all great and dandy. This article from 9 to 5 Mac which is entitled, it's a review. These AR glasses show me what I want Apple to make. Did you take a good look at this article?
Yeah, I guess I can understand parts of it. Some of it I wasn't entirely sure why they were so excited. Um, I mean, the glasses themselves don't look too bad. The weight looks pretty good. There's little bits of information that comes up, but I don't know. How does it compare to what you had with Google Glass? I guess I was sort of disappointed
Thank,
that it was what it was, but
yeah, thank you for making that connection because every point in here that I read, I'm thinking, this is Google Glass.
mm,
Again, it does things like Google Glass has mail announcements and notifications, or had, I should say. It probably still does, but it's sitting in my closet with a dropped operating system that Google never supported after a couple of years. But it was, swipe on the side of the frame and advance to
mm,
your next notification or message. The message would come up through audio, but you would get a signal on the glass. It was basically a prism setup
mm,
where the prism was projecting the text or the information. And it's been so long, I'm not even sure. I think you can even they could do like graphic pictures on it. But it was, coming out of a LED, hitting the prism, and then landing on the little portion of the screen on one eye, and you could read and control it. And then you swipe along the glass frame, or you tap
mm.
on the glass frame. You do those different kinds of things. Everything here of what it says this guy is excited about was done in Google Glass. And it looks like they're using an old, let's say old, they're using a new, but it looks like the old pixelated dot matrix green screen that old computers used to have. That appears, if you look at the photos that this guy has taken, because he's been wearing them for 2 weeks, they look pretty cool. I mean, they look nice. But some of the pictures involved with it, they kind of show the projections with time and date. And he compares what's in the app dashboard and then what they see. Notifications is another part of it. The 5 core features are quick note and transcribe. So it has an audio prompt translation, which will work and translate speech to text in real time with 22 different languages and more coming. Navigation, and if the extent of the navigation is something like you see here, where it's a line screen with a little pixel pointed arrow, I'm not sure about that. And you can see another image of him looking through his glasses to see that he needs to turn right in 400 feet. And then teleprompt, which seems like an interesting addition, but it's one of those things that I don't know how much you're going to use it. I mean, I would probably use it a lot. I have a teleprompter, but it has a tendency to glare a lot with it. I have an Elgato, and I've had to put everything in dark background in order for it to not glare so much. And it can hang up here and there, but he talks a lot about teleprompt and him being a YouTuber, how much that would be very cool to be able to do. So, and then AI, but of course, glasses nowadays have AI. If you think of the Meta Ray-Bans, and also if you think of the Amazon version of glasses, I forget what they're called. I'm looking at them right now on my desktop, and I can't even remember what they are. That tells you how memorable they are. Very cool looking blue sunglasses, but there's, not a lot that it does. So I was just struck that Google Glass didn't even come into this conversation, because pretty much everything that was done here, or he's saying is what Apple needs to do, was done with Google Glass. And actually the screen resolutions are a little bit better from what I could see in this case with this set of glasses. I think there's been a benchmark set with Meta and also with Apple these glasses have to kind of, at least this glass has to step its game up without making it look like you're wearing snorkeling goggles walking down the street. And that might be the only way they can do it, by having an LED projection that way. And that's what's been suggested with Mark Zuckerberg's glasses, that's how they're doing it, that they look like thick, two glass eyeglasses in order for it to happen. So I think what happens, I mean, if anybody's put on a Meta or an Apple headset, they're going to expect more out of anything that's glasses that they would have expected, 2 years ago. They're not going to want a little green dot lines telling them what direction to go. They want to see maps, and they want to see clear maps. So it's an interesting article for folks who want to read it. I think you'll see what other people are doing. I think it has implication for what Apple's going to do. But Apple is going to come late to the game, but they're going to come with a lot of the advantages of knowing the capabilities and what people want based on what other people have done. So quite a few articles on glasses and the development of glasses that we'll have there for you. I saw this weekend that this was coming, and I was disappointed when I put the headset on today, but it won't debut until Friday.
Friday? Yeah. They're a little early on getting that information out there. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Remember how we've spoken about how these immersive videos each have a different piece or purpose? And I'm wondering, what's the new angle here? What is it that this video is going to give us that's a little bit different than being having the concert for one or any of the other immersive kinds of experiences?
Well, this one's certainly a whole lot less planned.
What do you mean?
You can't say, you stand here and sing, and we've got the cameras over here, and then you hit your mark on this spot and this spot. There's an element of unpredictability. So, there's certainly a challenge of where to put the camera, or they had the camera in this spot and they waited who knows how many events worth of time.
These are very well-trained bulls, is what you're saying.
It's possible.
Here's what I'm thinking.
Or it's really short. We're seeing the movie right here. This is it.
Yeah. It's a 10-minute short film, according to the article here.
That makes sense.
Here's what I'm thinking. I'm curious, and I'll bet you a nickel on this. The way that they could do this, and maybe you've seen ones that meet this criteria, but the whole thing being shot from the perspective of the rider, so you become the rider. Are there other immersive videos that are shot first person?
Yeah, but this doesn't look like it's from the perspective of the rider. This looks like it's the perspective of somebody who's way too darn close.
Well, you're looking at one still. So I mean, that would be one way to show immersive video that hasn't been, and it would be thrilling, if not vomit-inducing for some folks as they watch it.
Yeah. I don't know, because you couldn't get the camera would never be stable. You have to have the camera anchored someplace to keep you from having that throwing up problem that I keep experiencing. Yeah.
Well, why do you think the bull is so angry? He's got a camera attached to him.
Yeah. I'm with Justin on this one. You'd be throwing up so much. It would be an action film, but not the one you want.
Well, we'll report on our impressions of bull riding next episode. It'll come out this Friday. I was really hoping to have a little bit of it for tonight, but that's not the case. So we'll see. A couple of articles that are related, and you posted something. We'll get to that in a minute. And I didn't really fully get into this article. Maybe you did. It was a Apple Insider article about exploring legacy VR and 3D content using the Vision Pro.
Yeah, I did look at some of this. I have to admit, I skipped ahead to the ship model because I wanted to see a bunch of the different ships, and yeah, that wasn't bad. it's I guess it's important from the standpoint that you've got this device for watching things, but you've got media that you're pulling forward from over time.
Right.
So you've got some old stuff, some stuff from other devices, some stuff where people have experimented with different cameras, or a camera attached to a drone, or so and it certainly has gotten better, but trying to figure out how exactly to watch it so that it looks good.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm starting to see more and more is playback software that does enhancement in real time. It increases the resolution of whatever you're watching while you're watching it. Because 3D content and whatever content you're watching, if it's old enough, there's not enough resolution for it to look good. It might look good on some of the other devices or look just as good as other stuff, but move it ahead to the Apple Vision Pro, and if it's a really low resolution source, it is noticeably not good. Like it's the resolution of the screen is good enough you can tell that, oh, all of a sudden you're watching something that's really fuzzy or really pixelated. So being able to kind of boost that resolution, it's kind of like what we had when people had VHS tape, and then they were showing movies from kind of that source, but with DVD type screens, and then you would get old movies and new movies, and there's a big difference. And then they just started doing things where the TV would upscale.
Yeah, I think this is a good article for folks who are looking at different ways to different kinds of video they can access and ways in which they can access it. And so it's a nice kind of good overview to remind you, hey, if you're interested in this, this is where you can find it. This is what you can do to get it and get it the best viewable way within there. When you made a reference to Justin, I didn't know who you were talking about. Justin is in our chat room, and I wasn't looking at the chat room. But he was talking about the car and how Vision Pro got some of the potential elements from the car, at least according to that article. And then he made the throw up comment that riding a bull, you throw up.
Well, no, putting the camera on the bull with you, yeah, that would not be good. My stomach is feeling queasy just thinking
you'd probably
about
get banged by the camera. Are you ready to talk about this Reddit link, which is probably a little hard to see on my screen? I'm going to zoom in, and I did get some here. Maybe something a little bit better, but compare.
I sent you a separate image. I thought I texted it. No, I posted it in one of the chat things.
Chats, yeah.
But at any rate, this is really just a chart version of the other article. In that it gives you a list of a bunch of different apps, and then you can follow through, and it will say, yeah, you can do 360 VR video, or it's a native app on Apple Vision Pro, or you can get external subtitles if it doesn't have it. The last time it was updated, in the app, can you do real-time 2D to 3D conversion? So if you're watching an old a copy of the original Star Trek and you want to see it in 3D, like Moon Player will let you do that, or Sign Ultra, as two examples. And then what was the other thing? And then some discussion about, where can the files be and how do you get to them? Do you connect to a website to watch? Can you connect to another computer over SMB? So it's just a useful comparison chart, and it seems to get updated, at least once a quarter on Reddit as new apps come out.
Yeah. And so, we acknowledge Reddit. This was as of January 24th, 2025. And I think it's a pretty cool chart in terms of here's a player. I don't think it has all the players on there because I've certainly purchased my fair share of players that I don't play anything on just to check them out. And it's got some of the biggies.
Yeah. And it also gives the price. to get it.
Yeah.
Now, as an example of workflow, I use Infuse on all of my devices, and that can go and connect to. I got a computer in my basement that has a drive attached to it. Infuse can connect to that. I can select a movie. I can tell it to download locally onto the device or onto my Apple Vision Pro. But then I switch over to Moon Player. Moon Player points to the same storage location on my Apple Vision Pro as Infuse. So I just use Infuse kind of for file management, and because I have it on my Apple TV and my iPad, so I use that to move stuff around and download files to my Apple Vision Pro. Then I switch over usually to Moon Player to watch it, and I can watch it in 2D or 3D, or I can increase the resolution. But a bunch of the other players will let you point at local storage as well.
Yeah. Justin in the chat room says he likes Moon Player because he can play it on device. He has a 1 terabyte version of a headset, so he can store stuff on his device for that reason with that process. So then a whole slew of articles, 3 articles that came out this week praising how game developers have gotten an interest in Apple Vision Pro. And it was based on a survey that was done. And I can't remember one of the articles. Game Developers Conference has revealed increasing interest among developers in creating games for the Apple Vision Pro. So the survey included over 3,000 game developers, provides insights into the potential growth of gaming and Apple's new spatial computing platform. And some statistics here. 26, I saw this in another article. They show a breakdown of the developers' interest in, so one of the 3 articles has that table in there that shows it. But 26% of the developers expressed an interest in visionOS as a game development platform. I think Meta was probably up in the 50% if we switch to the article and I can read it. But 8% of the AR/VR developers are currently working on games for visionOS. So that's kind of exciting. And this was a game developer conference. And that's about it for that article. And this was GamesBeat, who originally published this information. Same percentages in this article. But let me see if maybe it's this last article from Road to VR. I was going to say call it Road Tover. Yeah, here's
that had some interesting.
Yeah, here's the chart, and I don't know if I can expand this anymore for folks. No, it keeps throwing it back. There we go. And its resolution is not so great, but it's got.
If you click on the graphic, it zooms in.
So you can see MetaQuest at 63, Steam VR at 45, then Apple comes in at 26, PlayStation VR VR2 at 25, and then you see the rest of them. HTC Vive port, so the HTC that we were talking about.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it looks like we are going to get some game interest with the device, and not just things that we can play on arcade, but other things with that. So what do you think? Did I get my chocolate in your peanut butter, or did you get your peanut butter in my chocolate? And what I mean by that, 2 articles that came out this week, one by Samsung, one by Mac Rumors that says the Samsung VR headset looks a lot like the Apple Vision Pro. And another one by Mac Observer titled Samsung VR headset looks more like MetaQuest Pro than Apple Vision Pro. And there is no MetaQuest Pro anymore. But this is the argument. And this, I think, is the prototype that you're seeing. It's not even a finished product, and they're already saying, who did Samsung steal from? which I guess fits, it's a toss-up. And we've talked about this Android X. Project Muhan will be the first headset designed by Android X, and it's set to launch later in 2025.
Kind of looking forward to seeing that. I don't know if I'm going to get it. I just kind of want to see it, because I think now that Apple Vision Pro is out, everyone, as they're building new headsets, has features that they hadn't really considered as being important that maybe get included.
So yeah, I'm interested in this product. Would you pay money for it? Do you have
I,
much in the
I
Android
would go.
environment?
No, I have nothing in the Android environment. I would go and look at one. I'm curious. I think there are some people that were really curious. I just want to know how far did they get on features? What's the resolution like? Can you fix windows in space, or are they always attached to the device? Kind of how did they do it? How much is it a VR device? How much is it an AR device?
And most of all, how much does it cost? And what I've heard in terms of projections is it's still around $3,000.
Yeah. Okay.
So hey, that's something else they stole from Apple, I guess.
Well,
I don't know what to. I don't know what to think of it. I couldn't see dropping some change on this just because all of my stuff is. There's not anything that's really very cross-platform for the work that I do. Between
I could see them, yeah, but I could see them building like a cable adapter that would let you use it as a display. I mean, Apple would never do that, but I could see maybe them adding that or something along those lines. Then maybe.
I mean, I'm interested in this. Whenever I purchase myself a Google or Android device, I always find out that everything that I'm using within my Apple ecosystem is so familiar, and that's my workflow is set up that way that I can't be running two different ecosystems at the same time and getting work done on one and then switching over to the other one and finding the work that I've done there necessarily without having to go through all sorts of complications like taking the files and sending them up to a particular shared storage device or storage environment. And it just turns it into a real complicated process for me to work between those two environments. I'm curious about it. I will probably not do a Moohan Files podcast. We'll leave that up to somebody else to do that and focus on it, and they can crap talk Apple on that show. But it's interesting. To me, it's just interesting. There's so much talk about this, and there really hasn't been anything definitive in terms of a functional prototype that has come out for people to talk about. So let's talk about apps. And this, did you try Amplium out?
Yes, I did.
I thought this would be up your alley.
Yeah,
in particular.
I mean, the quality was pretty good.
Uh-huh.
I'm finding that for immersive video, there still is that problem of the videos are big. So it takes a while to grab them, download them, watch them. My network connection's not fast enough to stream things. So, but yeah, it was enjoyable. It worked.
Yeah, I was naturally drawn to the description where they talk about Turkey. And there was one video in there that was like a tour of Turkey, supposedly. Wasn't a tour of Turkey. It lasted 1 minute. And so I think this will turn into a platform where they'll get some immersive videos and you buy them through the app, because the app itself is free. I thought it was pretty well designed and pretty laid out pretty well. It talks about different selection of content spanning. Yeah.
I mean, they're still building up content.
Yeah, here's the immersive journey through Turkey, and that on that one cell there, and I thought, okay. And then I went in, and they had this thing about Turkey, and it was a guy who drove up in a new Mercedes,
okay,
with all dark windows, and he got out of in a really kind of modern looking building or residence, and he pulls up and he gets out of his car. It's one of those things where they do multiple shots where we see him kind of get out of his car and then really get out of his car. And then eventually he walks across the street and then we see the parts of the building. But it was not the Turkey I know. It was just like, here's a young kid driving a rich car. That's what the video is about. And parking it in front of a rich building. and then they had this weird clip where it looks like it's a private residence, and then they go to this new building structure, and I can read. I don't know Turkish, but I can read enough to figure out it's like the entranceway to a college. And then there were some,
Yeah.
amphitheater style outdoor seats that, he was standing at the bottom of. And I'm not sure if it was a college I've been to over there, but some of the stuff at the top looked familiar. But it was a minute long, and it was not, the historic sites or Hagia Sophia or the catacombs or anything like that. It was a guy driving around in a Mercedes or an Audi. I can't remember which one it was. But good app. Sorry, I'm not trying to crap talk the developers. It really is a pretty good app. But again, it depends on what content they can get and what you can get in. I saw the in-app purchase for 99 cents, and I figured I'd spend $1 just to find out what the Shred Brothers were, but couldn't find any way to purchase it because it was additional content I could purchase for 99 cents. I'd do that just to see what that experience was, since the app was free.
So we might have to come back at it in a little bit, see if there's some more content people.
I do like the layout of the app in terms of the screen and the options to go through. You can see that in one one of these two images here. It really is kind of a clean interface that way. Did you read this? This is another Reddit article I found, and I thought it was interesting. And this is not an app per se, but it's the concept. You can buy, I guess, changeable inserts, optical inserts.
Yeah. It looks like there's two versions of it. One that's if you're really nearsighted and it can go like 6 steps. And the other one is kind of a generic. It can go 3 steps negative, 3 steps positive.
Positive.
And the what that means exactly, I am not an optometrist, but you can change settings. So to set it, you kind of hold the lens up in front of you and you drag a dial back and forth until text looks clear. And then it's a not quite a strong magnet as the other snap-in ones. You basically drop it into your Apple Vision. And the idea is if you're doing demos and you've got somebody who is nearsighted or whatever, but not your prescription, you can still let them do the demo, and you can kind of adjust it to get it close enough that they can actually see something. It sounds like they have it for other devices as well, not just the Apple Vision Pro. But when I looked, there were 2 versions. Of the 2 versions that were there, the kind of more generic -3 +3 was sold out. But I did order one.
You did?
Yeah, of the really, really nearsighted, the -6 one.
Oh, okay.
I'll give it a shot. I'm willing to try it just because I have enough different people test, trying out my device that are a little bit nearsighted. It would be nice to be able to adjust it.
Are you willing to say how much they cost? Because I couldn't see that on this, and I didn't.
That is an excellent question. One moment, because I'm pretty sure they sent me something. Hang on a second.
I can tell you my optical settings for readers are 2.75. And so, if you're looking at a +3 to a -3, and there are worse settings than 2.75, that 2.75 is actually pretty good. People go up to 5 or 6, and that's a challenge.
Yeah, and the one I ended up getting was 0 to -6.
Yeah.
Let's see, $108.
I'm looking at. Okay. So I'm gonna.
And I went back to look at it later, and then I couldn't find. I know if you watch the video, there's a link in there, and there also is a discount code, which I forgot to use when I was ordering it because I was ordering in the middle of the night. Never do that. But I don't, there's like a website where you can go and you can see the pricing, and I don't see that here. Oh yeah. No, yeah. Cause there's a link to the video. So I think you have to go to the video, and then after you go to the video,
it gives
for the
you
link
information
to go and order it.
Hey, check out that guy's t-shirt.
Yeah. I like that. It was nice.
Yeah, I know. We need to look for those for Macstock.
Oh yeah, okay. So there the in the read more about it underneath, there's a link to the yeah, click the more, and then there's a buy Vision Pro lenses here.
Right.
Click that. So those are the
Oh,
two, right? So the +3 to -3, that was sold out. The 0 to -6, that one was available. But it gives you a view of what the controls look like, where you can dial it
yeah.
across. Yeah. And if you watch the video, it demos kind of doing the thing. I don't know if they will ever get more, or if this is a one-off where they're testing it. It was a neat concept.
So the ones that we're seeing in this
And there's some
is
other ones that are down below, I think, but I don't know what those are.
these are the
Oh,
0
that
to -6.
yeah.
Yeah,
And if
these
you
are
look
all
down at the
0.
bottom, they have it for the Oculus Quest 3 and the Quest 3S.
Well, that's pretty neat.
So now, I'm going to reserve judgment until I get one and try it, but
Yeah.
it looked like an interesting concept. I know there are some people that have ordered, 10 different inserts for their Apple Vision Pro so that different people could drop in an insert to get at least close enough.
Yeah, I think I have 2 sets of inserts, and I wind up only using one. And that is like a reader for me. It's set at
Hmm.
275, and
Hmm.
it doesn't have the prescription that I usually have. Like right now, I'm wearing glasses and contacts, and
Ah,
my Vision Pro. If I'm wearing my contacts, I don't have to put any inserts in it. If I'm wearing my readers, then I have to put the inserts in to mimic
yeah.
the readers that I have. So,
Hmm.
well, that's an interesting. It's an interesting piece. I'm glad you went a little deeper on that than I did to get to the site, and we'll be curious to see how that plays out for you with that.
Yeah,
The
I'll let you know
last,
when they come in.
the last, I guess we'd call it an app, is the HUD browser and video player. And the concept here is, you know how Vision Pro always sells itself as, well, you can just walk out of the room and come back and your screens will be, in the living room where you were watching them. The trick here is this will give you an option of a screen that'll follow you around the house. So I know you spent a little bit more time with this than I did because you were before show able to fill me in on some of this in terms of the settings, and what you can do with this. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you definitely have to play with the settings because otherwise you get kind of this fixed, most fairly solid window that sits right smack in front of your face and you can't see anything. But you bring up the settings and then it lets you adjust where the window's located, because so you can slide it out of the way, a little over to the left or up above. You can change the size to shrink it down to a small square or make it bigger. You can make it closer to you. You can make it further away. Also in settings, you can put in a URL to a website. Versus trying to figure out how to click something and put in a URL and go there. Because I found when I had the window where I wanted it, it was too small and too far away for me to read what I was doing in the window. So it was easier to do it in settings, have it just go to display the video I wanted to display. Once that was in place, it wasn't horrible. It's a little rough. It does what it says it's going to do, and it puts a window where you want it in front of you. And you can adjust translucency a little bit too, so you can sort of see through the window, so you're not blocking everything. And in that respect, it's kind of cool. Yeah, if you want to watch like a podcast video, for instance, while you're taking a walk because you haven't gotten all your steps in, yeah, it'll work for that. I think they advertise it as, you can have some instructions or something you want to watch while you're in the kitchen and you're moving around doing things or washing dishes or whatever. Yeah, that kind of
Yeah.
works.
This is from the developer. I love this because it tells you what's important in people's lives. I created this app to be able to watch YouTube videos while doing small chores like washing the dishes, folding laundry, or vacuuming. But it's also good for eating, walking around, or just lying down. I think it's surprisingly easy to keep two things in focus this way. I recommend setting the opacity at around 50%, but feel free to use it however you like. Obviously, it's not recommended to use the app in any situation where not paying attention to your surroundings can cause harm. So no motorcycle riding and watching YouTube videos, apparently. It's a no-no. Of course, your Vision Pro screen will act as a bug catcher if you're on your motorcycle while you're doing it. And we are not suggesting that.
Yeah, you wouldn't ever want to have an accident with it because it's not really a safety screen.
So that's a wrap for this week. Some interesting stuff about, the glasses, some interesting stuff about, we've got supposedly game developers that are interested in us again as a Vision Pro. And then Samsung, who are they stealing from? Does it really matter? So yeah, we've enjoyed putting this together and enjoy having you as listeners or viewers. You can follow the live stream at YouTube it's at YouTube, youtube.com/@visionprofiles, Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Catch the video later on YouTube or the audio on any pod catching service. So any final words or ideas or things you're looking forward to?
No, just waiting for that order to come in. I'll let you know whether I can see anything with those inserts.
When we get done with the show, I'll show you a couple of new toys that I'm playing with that are not related to Apple Vision Pro, but new toys that I'm playing with. Thanks for tuning in. We'd love to hear from our listeners. If you have any ideas or want to join an episode, email us email us at visionprofilespodcast@gmail.com. Our bumper music is Free Jazzy by Steve Combs, courtesy of the Free Music Archive. Learn more about us and the Vision Profiles podcast on our website, thepodtalk.net, which is another way in which you can contact us, and all of the other available podcasts that we do at that site, thepodtalk.net. I think next week's going to be a good week. It's going to be a better week than last week, and I'll get a little more sleep, which is good too. Spread the word to other visionaries. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.